race fans, welcome to episode number 6 of the Turn 5 Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ovens, alongside co-host Clint Miller. And Clint, we're up to episode number 6 already.
It seems like only yesterday that this thing was born.
Seems like only yesterday we were doing this with some crappy technology and had, sounded like we were speaking into a tunnel and whatnot.
Having save issues.
Having file save issues, all sorts of stuff. Being up till 2:30 in the morning. But here we are, episode number 6. Thank you, race fans, for tuning in. We're averaging over 125 to 135 views an episode, which is awesome for a brand new show.
For 6 weeks in, 5 weeks in, I'll take it.
Oh, I will absolutely take it.
And we don't even have the official numbers from last week. So.
That's right. And we do want to remind you, if you're listening here to the Turn 5 Racing Podcast, you can watch us on YouTube. You can also catch us on Podbean. It's turn5.podbean.com. And you can also subscribe to us on iTunes through your iPhone, iPad, MacBook, iPhone. I think I got them all. Anyway, we want to thank our sponsors who help us bring Turn 5 to you guys. First of all, Penny and Electronics down on 103 Main Street in beautiful downtown Penn. Clint, I know you guys are gearing up for Black Friday.
Yeah, big Friday. 6 a.m. doors open.
6 a.m., really?
Yes.
You going to be down there at 6?
I will be there at 6.
Oh, man.
I'll have a goofy-looking elf hat on, I'm sure.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going Black Friday shopping then, because this is something I got to see. One place that I can guarantee you will not be open at 6 a.m. on Black Friday will be Creekside Entertainment. They are the official DJ and photo booth of the Turn 5 Racing Podcast. Check them out online, www.creeksideentertainmentdj.com, or give Stu a call, 315-481-9700. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our friends over at Race Chaser Online and Speed 77 Radio. Matter of fact, today is the editor-in-chief of Race Chaser Online, Tom Baker's birthday.
Happy birthday, Tom.
Happy birthday to Tom over at Race Chaser Online. Make sure to check out their shows, the Motorsports Madness Weekend Report on Tuesdays at 7 o'clock on Speed 77 Radio. And don't forget to check out the SRI Motorsports Report on Thursdays, sponsored by SRI and Stock Car Steel and Aluminum on Speed 77. They go live at 7 o'clock on Thursdays. Clint, we got a big show tonight. We've got all local dirt racers, which is one of the reasons why we started this show, wanting to feature these local guys.
Yeah, I mean, we got to get butts in the stands, and, to do that, they got to know that, hey, Nate Daggett, Daggett's Garage, right in Dresden. He races on Friday night? I didn't know that. Well, now's your chance to find out. Yeah,
and we've got, tonight on the show, we've got Dundee's own Brady Fultz, driving the Troyer Race Cars 70, Sportsman, and 358 Modified. We've got Crate Sportsman competitor at Black Rock and at Woodhull, and he tried his luck up at the Fulton Speedway, Brett Buono. We got Brett on the line with us tonight, driver of the 64B. And then, as Clint said, we've got the Black Rock Speedway street stock driver, Nate Daggett, from down in Dresden, New York. Nate will join us on the shoe.
And there's some neat information on where the number came from for Nate Daggett.
Yeah, that's something that I want to ask tonight. I have been, you know my history with the Carrick family. I've never known where the 3D came from, and I'm going to ask Nate that tonight. And hopefully we can find that out, because I remember rooting for Uncle Roger and rooting for Bubby and all them, and I, 3D, I was like, okay, yeah, that's Uncle Roger, the 3D. Well, I don't know where it came from, so we're going to find out where the 3D came from tonight. Next up, Clint. Let's swing over to Clint with results. Oh, wait.
Chirp, chirp, chirp.
Oh, wait. We don't have any results. Little bit late in the race season. We don't have any race results for you guys. However, this coming weekend, they've got the Gobbler at Accord Speedway, one of the Brett Deo shows. Just saw on Race New York today that the lap money is up to $1,425.
This show is going to be huge. And I wish that it wasn't 5 hours away.
I know. I hear you.
Because not only, is it it's like $7,117 to win or some crazy silly number like that. But there's also a Clean Your Plate challenge.
Yeah.
That's you get money for winning the heat, you get money for winning the Dash for Cash, you win the feature plus your lap money. You could walk away with over $10,000.
That's huge.
If you get the setup right all day long.
Imagine taking the Clean Your Plate challenge and taking home $10,000 going into the off season. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that
I could make that happen.
Yeah, you as a racer, those are things that you only dream about.
Yeah.
That's $10,000 from a...
That changes your off season.
Absolutely.
That changes your off season for sure.
And that makes next year's program a little bit better.
It certainly does. And, the only thing that they're going to have to contend with is this storm that they're talking about. We're recording this show on Monday night and talking about some snow coming in the area here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and early Thursday. So we'll see if Mother Nature lets them get that show in down with Brett Deo's crew down at Accord Speedway.
Yeah, I'm hoping that. I think from what I've heard that the snow may stay north. So being Accord is probably an hour and a half, 2 hours south of Albany.
Yeah,
it's very possible that
they could be in the rain area as opposed to the snow.
Right. So we'll keep our fingers crossed for the people at Accord. Brett Deo, he puts on good shows all across the southern tier. Yeah, good promotions. So
yeah, he really puts on some really neat shows at 5 Mile Point, I-88, wherever that guy goes. He really brings in a lot of cars. Clint, let's talk about some of the news that came out of the dirt track racing world this week. And honestly, Clint, we could have an entire show just based on the news that came out this week. Let's start with Canandaigua Motorsports Park. As of today, 137 days until opening day at CMP. They're going to open up on April 12th for their first regular show. They do have open practice on April 5th. But on April 19th, it's going to be the first Super Dirt Car Series sanctioned race at Canandaigua for the year. It's the Jan Corcoran Memorial 64-lap race. And
I missed that somehow. I didn't realize it was a Dirt Car Series race.
It's now going to be a series race, which is really going to be a big show. I mean, the Jan Corcoran Memorial is always big anyway. Mm-hmm. Last year was a storybook ending and Alan Johnson winning in one of the first races that he was back in the car since his dad, Milt Johnson, passed away. I mean, that was just... what a story. I mean, the race is run in honor of Jan Corcoran, Jeremy's mom, and Alan wins it and dedicates the win to his dad, who they lost over the winter. I mean, you don't get a bigger story than that.
Nope. And let's just hope that the weather's a little warmer than it was last year when they opened up the season, because I can remember going and I watched the heats and I went to my truck and got warm, and then I went back out for the features and actually had some sprint car debris fly over my head out into the back parking lot.
Well, it's funny you talk about that, because last year, early on in the season, I took my girlfriend to her first race ever, and it was freezing cold, man.
I saw pictures of you guys all bundled up, looking like
the little ear headphones that they buy, the younger kids to protect their ears.
Uh-huh.
Well, I bought a set for her that night just to keep warm, because that's how cold it was out there that night. So hopefully it's a little bit warmer for their opener this year. Again, modifieds will be dirt sanctioned over at Canandaigua. Here's something that's new. It was an announcement earlier this week. They will be on Hoosier tires for both the big blocks and the Sportsmans in 2014. Also, with the Sportsman class, they may run aluminum wheels, but if you're going to run your aluminum wheels, you got to add 50 pounds of weight. And for the Sportsman guys, they must be on modified tires by June 1st. So they are giving them, what would that be?
3 months.
Yeah, about a couple weeks there at the beginning of the season where they can run what tires they have, but then on June 1st is the cutoff. Got to be on those modified tires. 305 sprint cars back for 2014. Canandaigua Motorsports Park and Black Rock Speedway will be the only Race Saver sanctioned tracks in the area for 2014. I know up at the Parts Peddler, they had Brewerton and Fulton Speedways had drivers come up and hear about the Race Saver program with the 305 sprints, see if there was enough interest to maybe bring those classes over to those tracks. But as of right now, it's CMP and Black Rock for the 305s.
And I think now having a track on Friday night, such as Black Rock Speedway, maybe you'll get a couple guys that are going to run both tracks. Maybe more people will want to get involved in it. It's kind of an inexpensive way to get sprint. I mean, it's not inexpensive, but it's got that feel to it if you want to get into sprint car racing.
It's certainly a stepping stone as you look at the 360 ranks, the ESS, the Patriot Sprint Tour. And I think the 305s have really been a hit at Canandaigua. First year maybe wasn't the biggest field that they were hoping for, but it certainly grew some bigger wheels in 2013. And
I think they had 16, 18 cars a night.
Almost a full field, certainly.
I know they had like 61 or 62 cars registered.
It'll be interesting to see how many come back for 2014. It really will. The other big announcement, and this was a long-awaited announcement for our pro stock / street stock guys over there at Canandaigua, was what would the rules be there? And now we know it'll be Can-Am rules and Utica Rome rules, or a combo of both for Canandaigua. So they've adopted both tracks' set of rules, or you can run a combination of the two, and hopefully that will lure some more cars from Can-Am and Utica Rome over to Canandaigua to try and fill that field out a little.
Yeah, I think the biggest rule with that, I think, is going to be the tire size. I think the Can-Am and the Utica Rome cars run 10-inch rubber.
Yep.
Where the typically the pro stock guys, I believe, are 8 or 9-inch, depending on what tire you run. Is wider the tread. So
I know that Blaine Smith and Mike Welch, who I have friends with on Facebook, they were already looking to try and sell their 8-inch tires now that they got to move up to the 10-inch tires. So certainly that's a change for them.
I'll have to see if Carl can call them.
and that's just it. I mean, there's guys, competitors for other classes at other tracks that can certainly pick up some good equipment. I mean, when it comes to Mike Welch and Blaine Smith, I mean, you don't get much better than that. And, of course, for Canandaigua, their 2013 banquet is coming up this Saturday over at Club 86. So we wish a fun night for our friends over there at Canandaigua. Talking about Fulton and Brewerton Speedways, both tracks will be dirt car sanctioned for 2014 for their modifieds. Brewerton, they will run modifieds only, and that the dirt car sanction will go toward big block modified home track points. But for Fulton, they will separate the points for 358s and big blocks. So if you're a small block car who's trying to get home track points, you could run Fulton, as they will keep points separated for both 358s and the big blocks.
That's big.
That is big. The 358 series, I think, probably by and large in the last, 3 or 4 years was kind of on a decline. I mean, the whole class itself was, less tracks were running the 358s. Now it seems like maybe it's picking back up a little. But I think Fulton is really the closest small block track you can run around here.
That's dirt sanctioned?
That's dirt sanctioned.
Yeah.
I mean, they have them down at Woodhull, but not dirt sanctioned.
Right, yeah.
So.
They're actually, I think they call them a 370 modified.
Yeah, that's right. So it's even a little bit bigger there.
Yeah, they're kind of a hybrid.
Yeah. So that is the news that's come so far out of the Fulton and Brewerton Speedways. And then we wanted to check in with the Patriot Sprint Tour, which had a great announcement today on Twitter.
Awesome.
That George Suprick, Mr. Black Rock Speedway, will return to the Patriot Sprint Tour for the full tour in 2014. And Clint, that is great news for the Patriots.
It is great news. And
it's great news for racing.
It's great news for racing. It's great news for the Patriot Sprint Tour. Most of you, or some of you, may not know, towards the end of last year, George Suprick was headed home from a race. Not really sure where. Might have been Black Rock, but I don't think it was, but I'm not sure. But anyways, to make a long story short, he had a heart attack. So that, kind of put the kibosh on the rest of his season. But it's good to hear that he's coming back strong and plans on running a full tour next year.
Yeah, that was awesome to see. And as far as 2013 points went, The Juice, Jared Zimbardi, was the Patriot Sprint Tour America points champion. And then the Fireball, Steve Poirier, was the Patriot Sprint Tour Canada points champion. And, I mean, honestly, what didn't Poirier win this year? He could have stayed home the last 3 or 4 races of the ESS Tour, and he still would have won that.
Yeah, well, and unfortunately, he had, there was some bad luck there, and one of his closest competitors got hurt, and he missed the last 2 months of the season. So, what that happens. It's a next man up thing. It's
absolutely.
Everybody goes out there every night, and there's a chance of that happening.
All right, well, that's some of the news from the local racetracks here around the Finger Lakes. Clint, when we come back on the other side of the break, we're going to get ready to talk to the driver of the Troyer Race Cars, number 70. We're going to get Brady Fultz on the Turn 5 hotline. So stay tuned. When we come back, we'll have Brady Fultz on Turn 5.
Your dirt track home for news, discussion, and driver interviews, along with race results. You're listening to Turn 5.
Hey, Brad, where do you go for your NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, short track, dirt, and World of Outlaws coverage?
I go to racechaseronline.com.
Aren't they also at Speed 77 Radio on live stream?
Yeah, they've got the Motorsports Madness Report on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock and the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Join in on the fun at racechaseronline.com and see them on Facebook. Search Race Chaser Online.
Shop early for incredible Black Friday deals at Radio Shack. Choose from the latest smartphones, tablets, e-readers, plus portable Bluetooth speakers, top brand headphones, and much more. Radio Shack also has super low prices on RC toys, digital cameras, and laptops, plus a huge selection of stocking stuffers and accessories for all their electronic gadgets. So don't miss out on your chance to save big on Black Friday deals at your neighborhood Radio Shack at 103 Main Street in beautiful downtown Penn.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ and photo booth of the Turn 5 Racing Podcast. They're currently booking for the 2013 Christmas holiday party season. They're also booking 2014 and 2015 weddings. If you need a DJ or a photo booth to make your wedding or party a memorable event, contact Creekside at www.creeksideentertainmentdj.com or call Stu at 315-481-9700. Okay, race fans, we are back here on the Turn 5 Racing Podcast. Getting ready to go over to the Turn 5 hotline and bring in the driver of the number 70 Troyer Race Cars, Sportsman, and I believe you got a couple modified races in there too, right, Brady?
Yeah, we ran 358 a little bit. We went down to Penn Can for a ROC show this summer, and then a couple end-of-the-year shows at Black Rock and Woodhull, also at Little Valley.
So you guys got quite a few races under your belt, all different tracks, a couple different divisions, and even stepped into one of the Buono cars there.
Yeah, I've been racing for quite a while, since 2002. Started off in the Bandits, then we got in my dad's Super Stock for a couple years, and then we got into the Sportsman, and now we're starting to do a little 358 racing. So. I definitely would like to keep doing the 358 racing. Just depends on, feasibility and that kind of stuff.
And you talk about that lengthy racing history in the Fultz family. Was that kind of one of those things where I want to get involved with the racing because Dad's doing that? And is that kind of what sparked your interest in doing it?
Yeah, you know how it is. It's kind of in your blood at that point, you start off going to the races weekly, watching your dad, this and that, and, and you eventually just want to do it. And after you get in there and do it, as well, it's a lot of fun, and then you're addicted.
Yeah, absolutely. The story, talk about growing up with it. The story that your mom always tells every time I see her was me and your dad walking through the pits hand in hand, was when I was a little tyke. And it just goes to show you something that we preach every week about, family, friendship, and racing. I mean, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and that's what makes it enjoyable for a lot of people, is, you go there with family and friends and, you go and have a good time. And when you have success along with it, it makes it even better.
Now, Brady, tell us about, 2013. We just talked about the fact that you got a lot of racetracks under your belt, a couple different divisions that you competed in. When you sit down and look at 2013 overall, do you look at it as a success, or how do you guys view the year?
Yeah, I had a decent year. We came up short on the championship, but, that's part of racing, and you just, look forward to next year. We won the last 4 out of 5 races at Black Rock, and, so that was definitely a good note to end the season there. And, so then we went on and did some end of the year shows and finished good there as well. So, we did have a good season.
And you talk about winning the last 4 out of the 5 regular season shows at Black Rock. Did you guys hit on something or just have good luck start going your way, or what happened? Because you really caught fire at the end of the year.
No, you just got that consistency there. I think the last month we finally started racing consistently there instead of, having night you go racing, then you got 2 weeks off. You get into that consistency and, the track becomes more consistent and, we were able to do the stuff that we normally do, and it just started working that, and starting spots, the handicap kind of started playing off this and that, but the main thing was just being consistent.
Now, Brady, we're sitting here talking, and tell me about the competition in the Sportsman class this year.
The Sportsman class there is definitely, as far as competition-wise, is, it improves every year. It gets tougher. And basically where I'm at with the crate program, I basically got my car, to the best that it can be as a crate car. There's a couple other things that I could do to it, but, overall it's pretty much top-of-the-line Sportsman car. And, there's definitely other guys out there that are, catching up with the, latest and greatest stuff, putting on their cars, and, they're getting better as well. So it definitely gets tougher each year.
Now, explain to the folks that are going to listen tonight. You don't have 2 cars, right? You change the motor back and forth from your Sportsman to your 358, correct?
Yeah, we change it out. It doesn't take too long with the, with the modifies to swap a motor. And we just, you work hard and get it done. It's what we got to do to be able to do that type of racing.
When you switched over to running the modified and the Sportsman car, what's your favorite part about driving that car as opposed to something full-fendered?
Oh, there's, many more adjustments with it, and, the car lays right over on the right rear, and it's definitely more exciting than, like back when we ran 4 cylinders or like the super stacks. It's definitely a lot of fun to drive.
And when we look at Black Rock Speedway itself, what is your favorite part about racing at Dundee? Other than being right in the backyard there.
Well, that there's the main things. It's so close, and it's a home track. I grew up around there, and you do have a lot of fans being from Dundee. But racing there so long, I kind of have it figured out of what line to run or how the track changes throughout the night and stuff. I'm getting that down pretty good now. But I like going down there, and everybody's everybody, and you can really have a good time down there.
Okay, Brady. Now tell me about you ran mostly the 370 class at Woodhull, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me about Little Valley. And I know you haven't been there very often, but you had one whale of a run down there.
Yeah, I showed up there for my second time this fall, and I had a good draw. I think I drew 7th, and went out there in a heat race, and I qualified and made the redraw. The redraw, I think I ended up pulling second, and that's where I started. And I ended up starting on the hammer because Casey Pavlik ended up coming out on the track and having some issues, so I ended up starting in pole. And Dylan DeWert, got underneath me there on the start, and I basically followed him around. We went. It was a 25-lap race, and it went, caution free until lap 23, and I was actually, my tires were starting to work, towards the end there. I was catching them, and then we had a caution, which I lost my tire heat, this and that, and Billy Van Pelt was able to get around me on the outside with the 2 laps that we had left. But it was definitely a lot of fun going down there and run. It's a much faster track, this and that, and it's definitely fun to experience those different tracks with more speed.
And you're talking about different tracks. I mean, you had a couple of races you got to do over at the Land of Legends at Canandaigua and a couple of races down at Woodhull. Other than Black Rock, between the Little Valley, Canandaigua, Woodhull, what's your favorite out of those 3 that you got to go out and run?
Probably, I've always said keep having bad luck at Canandaigua, so that's probably my least. But,
Yeah.
My most favorites, obviously Black Rock, because I'm, it's probably one of my best tracks that I'm, good at. But, other than that, Little Valley was a lot of fun too, just because it's so much faster.
And it is a lot faster than Black Rock, and it's a lot harder on tires. Do you agree?
Actually, the past 2 years that I've been down there, you're able to run the same tire compounds as you do at Black Rock, and it's
interesting.
It hasn't been abrasive, no. But, in the years past, guys have told me that it burns up tires pretty good, but the last 2 years I've been down there, it hasn't touched tires.
Now, how come, 5 Mile Point had a big race a couple weeks ago? Did you guys even talk about going down to that?
No, what we ended up doing is just after we finished up the year, where was it, that Black Rock show that they had the modifieds come down. We planned on that being our last show just because, I want to keep the laps off the motor so we don't have to rebuild it over the winter. It's all ready to go for next season.
Now, you talk about the engine. Is that have to freshen it up every other year? Is that how the crate motors are working?
Like our 358, it all depends on how many laps you put on it. They say around 1,200 to 1,500 laps, you probably want to rebuild it. So, I'm just trying to keep the laps off of that. The crate motor, you probably get 2 years out of a crate motor depending on how many laps you put on that. But, you go and you do your leak down test and this and that, and, you start to see some leaks and this and that. And so once you start seeing that, it's probably time you replace it.
You're talking about some things for next year. Do you have any solid plans yet, or is it still kind of a wait and see and see who's running what kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm basically where I'm at. We're going to go down to the Black Rock banquet and see what's true. You hear all these rumors in the off season, this and that, and so we're going to go down there and see what's going on at Black Rock, and everything's still up in the air with me. But the main thing is to get the car stripped down and go through everything over the winter, and then see where we're at, come spring. And my main intent right now has been just to go over to Woodhull and run the 358 over there weekly, and just because doing the Sportsman program at Black Rock, I got 2 championships with it, and I've finished good last year, and it's we got the 358 sitting in the garage, so why let it sit there? And you can't get better if you're just competing against the same guys weekly. If I have a chance to move up, I think that's what I ought to do.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, and I sure do believe that you have the talent to move up. Now, we've talked about coming from a long line of racing family, from your dad to John Moravec. I know probably the ultimate goal would be someday to step into a big block and maybe run the Land of Legends on a weekly basis.
If that ever came down to it, I absolutely would do that, but like I said, the expenses of running a big block I just don't have that funding, but if it came down to it where a sponsor came up and wanted to, support me to do that, I would absolutely do it.
Good.
And we would certainly expect that you'd want to do that too,
and we'd support you doing it.
Nobody's going to be passing up a big block ride, that's for sure.
No.
Well, Brady, we certainly appreciate your time coming on Turn 5 tonight, and before we let you go, we always want to give our drivers an opportunity to thank their sponsors, crew, and family that help them get to the racetrack every week.
Yeah, you can't do it without your crew and all your sponsors. So I definitely like to thank my uncle who's dumped a lot of money into this program the last few years, and my daddy works on the car during the week, and also Willie and Nick, my two crew guys that come along each week. So we do have a lot of fun all together, so that makes it, worth doing. Along with that, all my sponsors, Troyer Race Cars, Draco Springs, Barney Moravic Water Wells, CB Butler, Fulkerson Winery, Offshore Marine, who else we got? ACP, and Finger Lakes Auto Truck and Marine Napa and Penn Yan. All these guys, they've been great and keep coming back for me each year, and it's how we were able to do it. And
now that the Parts Peddlers are over, I'm sure there's going to be quite a bit of work to do up at Troyer.
Yeah, there's, we definitely have a lot of work to do. It's, what I basically do each year is just strip the car down and go through everything, put it back together. And, it's no different what I do up at work, every now and then. We put together cars, all year long. So it's kind of on the back of my hand just to throw them together pretty easy. So,
and I'm sure that doesn't hurt at the racetrack.
No. But the more you know about these things, the better you are, and so it's definitely helped being at Troyers, and so we're just gonna see what happens over the winter here, and and then determine where to go next year.
All right, guys. Well, that's Brady Fultz. He drives the Troyer Race Cars number 70. And, a couple weeks, we get through the Black Rock Banquet, and closer to the springtime, we'll catch up with you again and see what the plans are looking like for 2014.
Okay, thank you.
All right, guys, that's Brady Fultz over on the Turn 5 hotline. Thank him for his time tonight, and when we come back, we're going to bring in the driver of the 64B. We're going to talk to Brett Buono. You're listening to Turn 5.
Shop early for incredible Black Friday deals at Radio Shack. Choose from the latest smartphones, tablets, e-readers, plus portable Bluetooth speakers, top brand headphones, and much more. Radio Shack also has super low prices on RC toys, digital cameras, and laptops, plus a huge selection of stocking stuffers and accessories for all their electronic gadgets. So don't miss out on your chance to save big on Black Friday deals at your neighborhood Radio Shack at 103 Main Street in beautiful downtown Penn Yan.
Hey, Brad, where do you go for your NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, short track, dirt, and World of Outlaws coverage?
I go to RaceChaserOnline.com.
Aren't they also at Speed 77 Radio on live stream?
Yeah, they've got the Motorsports Madness Report on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock and the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Join in on the fun at RaceChaserOnline.com and see them on Facebook. Search Race Chaser Online.
Your dirt track home for news, discussion, and driver interviews along with race results. You're listening to Turn 5.
All right, fans, welcome back to Turn 5. This is your host, Steve Ovens, alongside Clint Miller.
Evening, everybody.
And we are going over to the Turn 5 hotline. We're going to bring in our second guest of the night, another local racer here in the Finger Lakes and down in the Southern Tier. He drives the 64B Crate Sportsman, Brett Buono. Brett, how you doing tonight, bud?
Good. How you doing?
We're doing well. We're doing a lot of interviews with some of our local racers here, and we want to interview guys that folks can go to the racetrack every week and see run. And, what we're trying to do with these interviews is give folks a little bit of history so they know a little bit more about the drivers they see every week. So I know the story of racing in the family starts with Dad, but, along with Dad's racing career, how did you get started with it?
It was just all my dad. Ever since I was born, that's when he started, and been at the racetrack ever since.
What were some of the earliest tracks you remember going to when you were a little kid?
Oh, it all started right with Woodhull and Black Rock. And then he originated going to Woodhull, racing on a bet, and it's all gone from there.
Racing on a bet. What's the story behind that?
Oh, one of his friends had a car outside, and the guy told my dad he could have the car if he could get it ready and have it out on the track within a week. and he had it there. It wasn't completely ready, but it rained out, and he made it back the next week, and within a month, he won his first heat race with it, and he's just been racing ever since.
All right, Brett, well, let's talk about your 2013 season. I was poring over the statistics today and see that you had a full season down at Woodhull and ran a few select races over at Black Rock.
Yep, and just one other race up to Fulton. Attempted to get in.
Okay, was that the Outlaw 200 weekend up there?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yep, that was definitely a different experience.
I was just going to ask you, have you ever been to Fulton before?
Yep, I went there last year. Last year, just tried it out, and we were just going up, try something new. Didn't make it in, but it was just not enough time on the track.
Yeah. Is that someplace you think you might go back and try again?
I think we might go back up there again next year. It was fun, and we learned a little bit, and hopefully next year me and my dad can get in and get a little more experience there.
Yeah, that's a pretty prestigious race to get into. Anything that goes on up there on that weekend is kind of a must want to get in.
Yep. It was fun though.
Well, let's talk about your season down there at Woodhull. Run all the races down there, picked up 2 wins, one in the early parts of the season, one late in the season. Finished 3rd in the points. I got to imagine you felt like that was a pretty successful year down there.
Yeah, it was a good year. Wasn't real happy with the car, but I made it work for this season. I'm going to try a couple things next year with the same chassis. Just cut the car apart and see what we can make. And,
is it wholesale changes that you're going to try something different, or?
Yes and no. Going to kind of mix and match different type of chassis.
Okay.
Just different things I've seen.
Now, it seemed to me like your car was either I ventured down there a few times this year. It seemed like your car was either really good or it was really bad.
That's definitely how it was all season long. That's kind of why I'm going to try something different with it. It's just a little too inconsistent.
Yeah, I was going to say, try to find a little consistency.
What's the hardest part about getting that Sportsman around down at Woodhull?
Oh, Woodhull, it's all about your timing. Just getting into the corner right and getting out.
Yeah, because it seems like that exit of the corner, if you can't keep that momentum up to get you down the straightaways, that's almost everything down there at Woodhull.
Oh, yeah, it kills you. If you can't get through the center of the corner, you're not going to win.
Now, I want to talk about one of your wins this year. I think there was another 64 either on your back bumper or right beside you when you came to the checkered flag. Tell me, the emotions you go through knowing that it's your dad and you guys are racing side by side and you're every week in, week out you're together and tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, that was definitely cool getting a race against him. We both know I was running the high line, he was running the low line, and we're just racing to finish. We're not going to take each other out.
No team orders at Team Buono, huh?
No, whoever finishes first.
Now, did you know that he was there?
Oh yeah, I saw him. He made sure and showed me he was there under caution.
Yeah, just like any wily veteran would.
Oh yeah, well I wasn't with him.
Now, between the wins you got down at Woodhull this year and any of the wins you've got in the past, I mean, do you have a win that ranks at the top of your list of wins you have?
Oh, that one was probably definitely at the top of the list, getting the race against my dad and beating him by a bumper.
Wow, yeah. It was that close, really?
Oh, yeah, it was only by a bumper. He had gotten ahead of me just a little bit going into 3, and I just didn't lift going around the top side and just had enough momentum to where I just beat him.
Wow, that's awesome. I hope somebody got a picture of that somewhere.
I haven't found it yet.
Oh, that's too bad.
Now, you talked about some of the success you had down at Woodhull this year, and it seemed like when it came to Black Rock, it just didn't have the magic at Black Rock this year.
No, I ran good the first time I was there. finished fourth, but again, the car just wasn't consistent enough. I just didn't. I knew it wasn't there right from the get-go both times, and just did the best that I could.
Yeah. And I got to imagine the goal there being, getting through the night and bringing it back home in one piece, at least starting there.
That's the goal every night, and if you win, it's just a plus.
Yeah, that's one of the things as a diehard racer, like we run Black Rock on Friday nights, and there was a lot of times that if it rained out on Friday, we could make the trek to Woodhull. You guys really don't have that luxury because, even if it rains out at Woodhull on Saturday, Black Rock's the following Friday, so you don't want to go over there. You don't want to go over there and tear your car up when you're running for points at Woodhull.
No, it's just tough to do 2 nights when it's just I work on my car, my dad works on his, and we're just one-man teams.
Now, any thought of? I mean, let me ask you this, Brett. How come you decided to run a full season at Woodhull as opposed to Black Rock Speedway?
Well, it was a little more of a full season over Black Rock. Or at Woodhull, Black Rock wasn't really doing a full season per se. And we just like hanging out. We take our camper over there and camp out every Saturday night and just hang out.
Now that's really got to make that whole race experience a whole different ball game, because instead of making it just a night of racing and coming back home, you guys make almost a weekend out of it.
Yeah, well, it makes it much easier because I'm not the greatest at driving home at night, so it's nice just to go to the camper and relax.
Yeah, get yourself a little fire going and reflect on the night's races.
Have a couple of Pepsis.
Yeah, have a couple beverages.
Yeah.
Although, Clint, I'm sure, Christy keeps him in good line over there. So
either Christy or Brennan.
I think more Brennan.
Yeah, there you go. Now, looking ahead to 2014, are we looking at 14 already and getting plans together?
Oh, yeah. Well, like I said, I'm going to stick with the same chassis by the looks of it. I'm just going to do an overhaul on it, make a few changes that I see in between Troyers and POs, and put a little bit of both into it and make my own little Morphodite car.
Okay. And still looking at doing the full season at Woodhull and maybe a little here and there in Dundee?
Yep, that's what it's looking like.
Okay.
And bounce around and, like I said, at the end of the year, try and hit some of these special shows.
Yeah.
Get a little more experience at these other tracks.
Maybe make another trip up to the Outlaw 200 weekend?
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Yeah. Well,
maybe this time go up and camp.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that's a big weekend for race fans and campers up there. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, that's a big weekend. We slept in our trailer between Friday and Saturday.
Oh man.
Hey, whatever it takes, right?
That is right.
Yep.
All right. Well, before we get you out, Brett, we want to give you a chance to thank your sponsors, your crew, and the family and the little one in the background there.
Well, I guess first and foremost, got to thank my girlfriend and our family, Brianna, Alex, and my son, Brennan. Without them, it wouldn't happen. And definitely got to thank my dad. He's a big help in just getting parts, keeping track of the cars, and Larry Kennison with Precision Automotive. I got to thank Lauren Lincoln Fabrication for the body. I'm going to have him do it again this year. And Jared Hill with Creekside Racing. He helps out when he can. Dylan Cece and my buddy Brian Bartlett.
Hey, you're talking about the Creekside Racing gang. I mean, that's just that's some diehard racers up there.
Oh yeah, that they are. It's all racing come summertime. That's all it is.
Yeah. All right, Bart. Well, we certainly appreciate your time coming on the Turn 5 podcast tonight, and we'll catch up with you as we get closer to 2014.
All right, sounds great. Appreciate it.
All right, Brett, thanks for coming on, bud. We'll talk to you later.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
All right, guys, that's Brett Buono, driver of the 64B Crate Sportsman. He runs full-time down at the Woodhull Raceway, and you can see him at some select shows up at the Black Rock Speedway in Dundee, right on Route 14A. And I think come next fall, we might have to take a trip, Clint, up to the Outlaw 200 and catch him and his dad Bob in action. So.
We've got quite a list of trips that we're going to need to make, Steve.
I know. I'm going to have to tell Stu I'm taking the whole summer off.
Yeah, that'll go over well.
All right, guys, when we come back, we're going to bring the driver in of the 3D. We're going to talk to Nate Daggett, and we will talk to him on the other side of the break here on Turn 5. Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ and photo booth of the Turn 5 Racing Podcast. They're currently booking for the 2013 Christmas holiday party season. They're also booking 2014 and 2015 weddings. If you need a DJ or a photo booth to make your wedding or party a memorable event, contact Creekside at www.creeksideentertainmentdj.com or call Stu at 315-481-9700.
Shop early for incredible Black Friday deals at Radio Shack. Choose from the latest smartphones, tablets, e-readers, plus portable Bluetooth speakers, top brand headphones, and much more. Radio Shack also has super low prices on RC toys, digital cameras, and laptops, plus a huge selection of stocking stuffers and accessories for all their electronic gadgets. So don't miss out on your chance to save big on Black Friday deals at your neighborhood Radio Shack at 103 Main Street in beautiful downtown Penn.
Your dirt track home for news, discussion, and driver interviews along with race results. You're listening to Turn 5.
All right, race fans, welcome back to Turn 5. Clint, it's time to head over to the Turn 5 hotline and bring in our good buddy Nate.
Bring in some full fenders.
Yep, we're going to bring in our full-fendered friend, Nate Daggett, drives the 3D street stock over at Black Rock Speedway, and seen him on occasion over at Canandaigua Motorsports Park. Nate, how you doing tonight, man?
Good, a little chilly, but good.
You got that right. We're fixing to get some snow here.
Yeah.
So, tell us, before we get into the 2013 season, everybody always asks me, where'd Nate's number come from? Where'd the 3D come from? I know that number's got a lot of racing history.
Yep. In the mid-'80s, my father and Roger Carrick teamed up, and they put together a couple cars, and one was a 3D, and the 3 was for the 3 Daggett kids, and that's where the D came from. And they actually had the other one was the 3K. The K was for the 3 Carrick kids, and they ran probably, I think, 6 or 7 years there, and actually Billy Miller drove the one car for him, and
the late model.
Had a lot of good times and a lot of good laughs.
Yeah, drove a late model for him.
Yep.
I'll never forget it. It had a school bus roof on it, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, they did everything as cheap as possible back then, old school.
And do you remember a lot of those early days, Nate?
Not really. I guess I didn't pay too much attention to the races. We were always amusing ourselves playing. But I do remember all the guys around the shop working and stuff. And
yeah, that's one thing I've talked to Clint about before here on the show is the fact that, back in the late 80s, early 90s, we were around going to the racetracks or being around the cars, and I think that's one thing I would have loved to have been around and being old enough to take in some of those experiences back then.
Yeah, for sure. To see all the local legends, all these guys that everybody talks about.
Yeah, and still to this day, I know that the guy that made the back in the 80s made the 3D famous. He's still around the pit area every week while working on the car.
Yep.
So that's good, carrying on the tradition. So
yeah.
Tell us about 2013. We're pouring over some stats today, and over at Black Rock, you had 9 starts this year. Got 2 heat wins, 5 top 5s, 5 top 10s. How did you look at the season overall?
To be honest, it was pretty rough. We went over to Canandaigua to kind of break the car in a little bit, and went right out, won the heat. Car felt great. Puffed when I let off the throttle. It puffed on the last lap, and we ended up that we hurt the motor, so I didn't even get to run in the feature that night. And it just seemed like everything we did after that, we were just struggling for horsepower. And of course, this summer, you know, we had more rain than we've ever had, so every track pretty much was heavy, and you needed the horsepower.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was real disappointing season for me, but.
And as if, you know, all of that struggle during the season wasn't enough, you got another shot to the groin there at the end of the season at the 100.
Yeah, we finally got a decent motor back in there, and it just didn't seem like something was missing with it, and of course it come apart there at the World 100.
Yeah, we were just talking, you know, we had Brett Buono on before you, and we didn't get a chance to ask him about his last race of the year. I had talked to you in the stands, and during the makeup feature, you broke a rocker arm or something?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, it actually came apart in the qualifying for the World 100 is what it did. I didn't even make it in.
Right, yeah, you blew the motor in the heat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. That was, you know, you guys have had enough struggling over the years, you know, with the BRP car. You either couldn't get it to handle or you had motor trouble. And last year, you know, not this past year, but the year before at Black Rock seemed to be a pretty good year for you. So I'm sure that you came in this year and you had a lot of high expectations.
Yeah, and you know, I really did. And when I heard that Chris Fisher and Bob Buono both stepped out of the class, I was kind of like, wow, this is going to be mine for the taking here. And that's why this whole year has just been so disappointing. I mean, we had a lot of laughs and a lot of good times, but just you hate when you have motor trouble, because that's when the money part of it comes in, and that's the worst part about racing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have come a long way, and you've done a lot of homework, and I know that I've talked to you, you know, trying to, you know, asking you for help on when we had the Leaf Spring car, and you helped us out with, you know, angles and whatnot. You guys have really done your homework, and I was kind of looking, because we didn't run the street stock much this year, so I was kind of looking forward to you having a good year as well. And I think a couple years ago, you actually ran Carl's car, right, and finished fifth, the last points race.
Yeah. And that was a really good feeling, you know, because I really just took the car out there to kind of follow the pack around and just basically get what little points I could, and it just seemed like the car was close enough, and I started passing some cars. Next thing I know, I was going up towards the front. And I kind of wish I'd have run hard the whole race, but I mean that was the neatest thing. I've never had anybody, you know, just offer me a car, and I owed Carl a lot of thanks for that one.
That's what we're here for, and you know, we didn't have anything to gain by it, and we knew that you did, and you know, I go way back with your dad, and of course, you know, and my dad, and they're all together. So you know, anything that we can do to help you out, we would, and that's what racing family's all about.
Yeah.
Now, is that one of the things that you love about the street stock division? It seems like you guys, you know, you're competitors on the track, but it always seems like there's the drivers are real close knit. I mean, you guys race against each other most every week.
Yeah, you know, it's neat because it's a lot of give respect and you get respect, and it's neat to sit there after the races and have beers with a guy you just battled it out with, and yeah, you're going to hit each other once in a while, but if you race clean, I mean, there's not much else in this world you can do to have as much fun as that. And,
yeah. Now, when you guys, beginning of the year, when you guys went over to Canandaigua to run a few races over there, was there a lot of major things you guys had to change over to fit their rules over there?
No, we changed the gears. That's it.
Okay. And
that's just for the size of the track, nothing to do with the rules.
Okay. And what was it like running at Canandaigua over there?
That's pretty wild. I mean, it's about, I don't know how to describe it. You get on the throttle and you're just sitting there waiting for the corner, and it's a lot of wide open time. It takes some getting used to, I should say, but the fast speed is really a rush, though.
You had some good success over there. I mean, I know that, the first race of the year you hurt your motor, but, last year you went back a few times after that, I think. And then the year prior to that, you had some good runs up there too.
Yeah, we went over there just to kind of break the car and feel it out a little bit, and I think we run out of 3 or 4 races. We ran top three all of them, and we were all pumped to come to Dundee for the beginning of the year, and we go out first race of the year and actually blew the motor. So, different year, same story.
Right.
Now, with having the rough start to the season, I mean, it certainly changes your goals for the year, but I mean, you kind of start from ground zero again. I mean, is it okay, this week we want to finish the race and not hurt the motor, and then next week we'll worry about top 10s or top 5s, or how do you look at it from the driver's seat?
Well, I mean, there's no big purse out there worth taking a motor out. So to be honest, I mean, it's one of them things. If you're going to hurt it, you just pull in the pits. Our big problem is we don't have a huge budget to have a backup motor sitting there identical to the good one. So we have an old faithful one that we throw in there. And I mean, when the track's slick, I've won races with it. But like I said, this year was real heavy and just didn't have the power there. And that's key in the sport now because everybody's got their stuff together. And
yeah. Now, you guys looking ahead to 2014, have you guys made your plans yet or have ideas of what you'd like to do?
Nothing in concrete, but it's pretty much same deal. Take it apart, go through everything, grease it, lube it, put it back together, and make whatever improvements you can. But there's not really a lot of things to improve. We trimmed the fat off that car a bunch of times and stuff, and it's kind of one of them things. Just read and study and try to come up with something the other guy isn't finding.
And as far as where you guys are looking to run at next year, I assume Dundee would be a full season over there and maybe some other races elsewhere?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I actually, at the end of the year this year, I went up to Batavia a couple times.
Okay.
And we went down to 5 Mile Point one time, and I like those type of tracks, kind of like the shape of Woodhull, but they're real finesse tracks, and that's what I love. I love when it's slick as can be, and you just got to walk on eggshells, and it's all about the driver, And
it seems like that would suit your style.
Yeah, that's
it puts the wheel back in your hands, and not just the engine and the tires on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. Well, we thank you very much for coming on the show tonight, Nate. We're still new getting started with this show, and it's great to be able to bring local drivers like yourself on. And before we get you out tonight, we certainly want to give you some time to give some props to the sponsors and the crew and your family that help you get to the racetrack.
I appreciate that. I've had some sponsors behind me for a bunch of years. Daryl's Garage, Marbles Automotive, Lewis Electric, Borden Construction, Sloan Lawn Care, Mike Kastner, Speedway Performance, Rosselli Trucking, the Dairyman's Diner in Dresden, and just huge thanks to my crew and family for all the help. That's what it's so much about, the help. And a lot of people don't realize how much time and energy goes into them. And like I said, the crew, you just can't thank them enough.
You're talking about the crew and the time that you put into it. I mean, on a normal week, man hours, what do you guys look at per week to put back into the car to get you to the racetrack?
Well, say you have a good week and you don't have to do any body work or anything, you're probably going to spend, probably at least 5 to 6 hours per guy. And that's just washing the car up, checking the tires out, looking the frame over, and
nuts and bolts.
Yeah, and I mean it's so hard to say because there's weeks where you spend more time working on your race car than you do working in your regular job, and you about kill yourself, and you ask why you do it, and then Friday night you have a good run, and you're ready to do it again.
And it's worth it, yeah.
And you remember why you do it.
Exactly.
Hey, but before we let you go here, Nate, there was rumors swirling around about a potential sponsor for the class. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, actually, I was down. I went to Syracuse Saturday, and a gentleman that works for the track came up to me and said we're looking at $500 to win every night of the year.
Wow, that's big money for a street stock class. That should help bring in some cars, I would think.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and I mean.
Now, for those that are listening to the show that maybe don't know what what was a normal night to win over there?
200.
Okay, so that's
big steps.
That's very big. That's awesome.
Yep.
All right. Well, Nate, we appreciate your time, and as we get closer to 2014 race season, it gets closer every day. We'll catch up with you again.
All righty, thanks, guys.
All right,
Nate. Take care, man.
Thanks, Nate. That's a driver of the 3D, Nate Daggett. He drives over every week over at Black Rock, and you can catch him at Canandaigua, Batavia, 5 Mile Point. He likes to add some tracks to his resume. We certainly appreciate his time. When we come back, Clint, we're going to wrap up the show.
All right, Steven. Sounds good.
Here we go. On the other side of the break, we'll wrap up here on Turn 5. Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ and photo booth of the Turn 5 Racing Podcast. They're currently booking for the 2013 Christmas holiday party season. They're also booking 2014 and 2015 weddings. If you need a DJ or a photo booth to make your wedding or party a memorable event, contact Creekside at www.creeksideentertainmentdj.com or call Stu at 315-481-9700. Hey Brad, where do you go for your NASCAR, IndyCar, F1, short track, dirt, and World of Outlaws coverage?
I go to racechaseronline.com.
Aren't they also at Speed 77 Radio on live stream?
Yeah, they've got the Motorsports Madness Report on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock and the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Report on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock. Join in on the fun at racechaseronline.com and see them on Facebook. Search Race Chaser Online.
Shop early for incredible Black Friday deals at Radio Shack. Choose from the latest smartphones, tablets, e-readers, plus portable Bluetooth speakers, top brand headphones, and much more. Radio Shack also has super low prices on RC toys, digital cameras, and laptops, plus a huge selection of stocking stuffers and accessories for all their electronic gadgets. So don't miss out on your chance to save big on Black Friday deals at your neighborhood Radio Shack at 103 Main Street in beautiful downtown Penn.
Your dirt track home for news, discussion, and driver interviews, along with race results. You're listening to Turn 5.
All right, race fans, welcome back to Turn 5. Getting ready to wrap this puppy up. Clint, another great show here on episode number 6.
Awesome show. I love talking to these guys and hear what's going on year after year and what they do to prepare for the next season. It's pretty cool.
And if you've never been around racing, so much preparation goes into these cars. And Clint, I know even you know it better than I do, but so much preparation these guys go through week in and week out.
Oh my goodness. For me, because of family and whatnot, obligations, I can only get over there one night a week if I'm lucky. But Carl's out in the garage 2 or 3, 4 nights a week, sometimes every day if something goes wrong. Steve Kent drove up from Elmira at least 2 or 3 times a week this year. So, I mean, and he's, they're staying from 6 o'clock at night till 9 o'clock at night. So you figure 3 hours a night for 3 or 4 days a week. There's a lot of time and effort to go into making sure these cars aren't going to fall apart when you get to the racetrack on Friday night.
There is. And it's great that we have this venue here with Turn 5 to be able to bring these guys on, do the interviews with them, and give them a chance to tell their story. So that's really what we're looking to do here. So let's go back over to some of our track notes and news that for this last week that was, as far as racing news goes. And let's go over to the Oswego Speedway. We had Danny Kaye on here a couple weeks ago talking about things that were going on at Oswego, and
Big news.
They had a huge announcement. This was like right the day after our show last week, and that is Jessica Zemkin, JZ, going full-time at Oswego in a super modified in 2014. She did run the 2013 Classic where she qualified 10th fastest.
First woman in 57 years to qualify for the Classic.
Yeah, and Clint, not only from a racing perspective, but public relations, sponsorship. I mean, this is huge for Oswego.
This is the best thing that Danny Kaye's done without doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that when that announcement all came down, I'm sure that Danny about fell out of his chair. But I know that the sponsor that Jessica has with Corpac Merchandising, I know that was a relationship with Oswego Speedway that they wanted to expand on. And you know what? Good for her. I mean, that's going to be great for her. She is still going to do some sprint car racing on
Fridays and Sundays.
Fridays and Sundays, so you can rest assured that you're going to see her when ESS is around the area, or even if they're traveling. Patriots.
URC.
Certainly, I think you're going to see her at Utica Rome. I mean, that was her home track before she got into the sprint cars. So certainly, I think you're going to see him there. Other driver, they had a whole list of driver announcements. And some of the ones that stand out the most, if you're an Oswego fan, you'll know the name Randy Ritzkus. He's going to join Locke Racing's number 37. That team, Randy will be based in his home in Oswego, New York. The team has a home base in New Hampshire. And as I read it today, if they have a good night and there's not a lot of major fixes to be done, the car will stay in Oswego. But if they have a wreck or something major that's got to be fixed, the car's got to go back to New Hampshire.
Oh, wow.
That's a haul. I mean, yeah, Oswego's on the eastern side of the state, but still, that's a haul to New Hampshire.
We'd have to do some research, but I remember the name Randy Ritzkus at Dundee Speedway.
Oh, we might have to look into that. That's completely possible.
Years back. I mean, I'm thinking mid to late 80s.
Okay. You know what? You know who the man to call would be? We're going to have to ask Danny Kaye about it.
Yeah.
Danny knows everything that there is to know about Oswego Speedway. So we'll have to check with him about that. Other drivers that got announced. The Jersey Jet, Joey Payne, will return full-time in the Graham Strong Racing prepared car. This year's winner of the Bud Classic, Bobby Bond, will pilot the 4.7s car number 47 in the Super Modified. Steve Apt joins 4.7s in a number 67 small block Super for 2014. Also with the 4.7s team, they'll field a car for former SBS track champion Mike Bond in the 74. Dan Connors Jr. returns in 2014 behind the wheel of the 01. He was the Heat Race Challenge winner in 2013 for the Super Modifieds. And then here's one that you'll love, Clint. Team Tap Out up at the Oswego Speedway. Jason Simmons will return as the driver of the number 98. Team Tap Out also has registered the number 93 for J.J. Andrews. They'll also field a car for the number 91, and this guy's a popular name up at the Oswego Speedway. Barry Kingsley will drive the 91 for Team Tap Out. Camden Proud, young driver who I got to see do some practice laps up at Oswego right before Classic weekend. He will be registered for Rookie of the Year honors this year in the SBS division, driving number 54. And next one, Clint, I'll let you handle this one.
The next one is I had heard some rumblings about this. Alex Hogue has been announced as the driver of the number 41 in the SBS division.
Yep, Alex Hogue and the Hogue name making a return to the Oswego Speedway. I just saw a video of Oswego Speedway the other day, and they had a clip of Dean Hogue. Dean was dominant at Oswego back in the day when he raced there.
Dean or Dutch?
Well, probably both, but Dean.
Okay.
Dean was the clip was perfect. The gentleman doing the Victory Lane interview said, "Dean, you prefer the track slick like it was tonight?" And Dean fired right back and said, "I prefer to win." I mean, that is gold. That is just gold. Castiglia Row Racing will field the number 69 for Mark Castiglia and the number 68 for Cameron Rowe. Dave Danzer will return as the driver of the number 52 Super Modified. And as a backup entry, And this is one that race fans on social media have been, racketing back and forth to each other. A backup entry as number 72. Possibly a return of Greg Furlong. We'll see what happens. Maybe Greg could go back into that ride. Furlong was a multi-time champion in the Super Modifieds, as well as he has a 6-pack of Budweiser Classic Sunday wins in the Super Modifieds.
Wow, that would be big.
That would be big. And he's been away for a few years. Of course, this is all unofficial. It's just rumblings at this point. But a backup entry is number 72. We'll see how that pans out. Other news in tracks around New York State. Glen Ridge, they're going to do the Darlington-Atlanta swap, if you will. They're going to make the back stretch will now be the front stretch. The front stretch will now be the back stretch. So we've heard some great things about Glen Ridge, and the Soul family is taking over that track. And they're already making improvements. Obviously, flip-flopping the front and the back stretch. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Also in racing news out on the eastern side of New York. Matty D, owner and promoter at Fonda Speedway. The first order of business when they closed on the Speedway. They tore the turn 1 wall down. And they also have, just this past week, have started tearing some buildings down so that fans can see the backstretch much better. So
and that'll be good.
Yeah,
that's been one of the downfalls for that track for years.
Yep. So it'll be exciting to see how things go at Fonda. And then Utica Rome, we talked about their rules being adapted over to the Canandaigua Motorsports Park. Utica Rome will also be a NASCAR home track in 2014, which I think is pretty neat. Mm-hmm. Something different for our area, and something that they're priding themselves on for 2014. So Utica Rome will be a NASCAR home track. Also, back for 2014 at Utica Rome, the Cole Cup 360 Sprint Show. And it returns in 2014 for $10,000 to win.
Wow, that's cool.
Clint, that race was huge at $7,000 to win back, I believe it was a weekend after Labor Day. And I know they had some rain and had to come back the next day, and some drivers couldn't make it back, but they had over 50 cars. And now it's $10,000 to win. I mean,
bucket list.
They're going to put 75 cars in the pits.
I'm gonna have to get some Saturdays off the sides.
Yeah, for sure. And that'll be one of those late in the season shows. You know, I know that Lance Young had it circled on his calendar this year, and with him talking about running a limited schedule next year, I'm sure that the Cole Cup will be one that he'll have circled.
It's got to be. If you have a running sprint car,
yeah,
there is no reason why the Cole
Cup if it's a 305.
and I'm sure somebody, Little Cobra, may go try it.
Yeah.
There are some teams out there that are 305. Why not?
And a lot of the sanctioning series for the sprint cars, either run it for show-up points or they keep that date in their schedule clear, which I think is awesome because it just promotes more cars coming out to the track.
And I definitely don't think Cole Cup has show-up points.
Yeah, I don't think it does either. I think it was a date that they had on their schedule, but it was a non-points race.
Yep.
and just promoting that the guys come out for it. So that's really going to be huge. And we were talking about Lance Young. Already confirmed for next week's show on Turn 5 is Lance Young. So
good. We got some questions for Lance.
We're looking forward to talking to Lance. I know he's started to put some feelers out there about the fact that just traveling the whole tour with ESS is getting harder and harder. And the guy just finished his 30th season in racing. I mean, I'm not even 30 years old. Lance Young's been racing longer than I've been alive. And Lance was one of my childhood heroes. When we went to take our go-kart up to the indoor show at Syracuse, we went up to Lance's shop, got the kart all scaled up, and I remember being young saying, "Lance, what's the best thing I can do?" He said, "Steven, slow is fast."
Mm-hmm. And he's the epitome of that.
Now, I walked out of the shop that night, and as soon as we got in the truck, I said, "Dad, that makes no sense. Slow is fast." Well, when we got up there, I figured it out. I knew exactly what Lance was talking about, and I'm looking forward to having him on the show next week. What else do we got here, Clint? Other news. CBS Sports Network, this coming Sunday night, they will return, and they have, they have 4 more shows coming up. This Sunday, 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network, will be the World of Outlaws STP Sprint Cars from the Rolling Wheels Raceway. They'll be there Sunday night at 9 p.m. Check your local listings for that. And
well, I just see something on our video board here. The Short Track Super Nationals returns to I-88. Now
that's what we're seeing on the message boards.
Yeah,
and something that I saw to go along with that.
Yes, sir. I know what you're saying.
Was 5 Mile Point has now scheduled a race against that. So, oh boy.
Yeah, that's crazy because I don't know which is crazier. Short Track Super Nationals going away from I-88,
going to
I-88, going away from 5 Mile Point, or 5 Mile Point running that same weekend. Now, from what I've heard, I-88 was the original track for the Super Nationals, but I guess 5 Mile Point already had a tentative schedule up for next year and had that weekend circled for their Short Track Super National. So this has all been within the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, as time progresses, how or why.
Well, it begs the question. Let's take a vote on it amongst ourselves here. If you're 5 Mile Point, do you run an event against the Short Track Super Nationals?
You know what? I don't know. I can't answer that because you don't know the circumstances.
Yeah.
Was it a good split between 5 Mile Point and I-88? Rumblings I'm hearing? Not really.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be stuff that we'll never know about.
Usually the less you say, the more you say. And
that's exactly.
Not much has been said.
Nope. And
it can only lead you to believe one thing. Well, but we don't know.
No, we don't know. And, but that's Andy Harpel for you. He's the owner and promoter, or not the owner, but he's a promoter of 5 Mile Point and the whole ROC series. And Brett Deo, who is synonymous for promoting racing here in the the Southern Tier.
Yeah.
So
and putting on some big shows.
So everybody on the message boards is commenting except for those two.
Yeah.
So you don't know. It's I don't know, man. That's tough. So I'm not going to vote. I'm going to decline.
All right. Fair enough. I think personally, I feel like with such a big show going on at the Short Track Super Nationals, that's going to be a big show. It's going to be big money. There's going to be big lap money. I just feel like in the effort of working together to promote short track racing, it's just one of those things that, okay, are we doing well enough now where now we have to start turning on each other? And I don't think that time is now.
No, that's definitely not.
We gotta promote. We gotta work together. And you know what? At the end of the day, everybody's got to make a buck, and nobody can bat an eye at that. So,
and the thing that it really boggles my mind about the whole situation is they had 79 modifieds at 5 Mile Point.
Yeah,
what possibly?
So now you're going to try. You might split that crowd, or you know what? You know what else we could see? We could see everybody go to one place and not the other.
That's true.
You just never know. But certainly as the weeks and months go on, we'll talk more about that, and we're going to talk to more local dirt track drivers here in the Finger Lakes and Southern Tier area. We want to thank our sponsors for helping us bring Turn 5 to you guys every week. We want to thank Penn Yan Electronics on Main Street in Penn Yan. We want to thank Creekside Entertainment. Find them on Facebook and online at www.creeksideentertainmentdj.com. And we want to thank our friends over at RaceChaserOnline.com and Speed 77 Radio on live stream. Check out their shows on Tuesday and Thursdays. Ladies and gentlemen, for Clint Miller, for Brett Buono, Brady Fultz, and Nate Daggett, I am the host of Turn 5, Steve Ovens, saying, race fans, be sure to check it before you wreck it. We'll see you next week.
Night, everyone.
Turn 5 Racing Podcast is recorded weekly at Casa de Pork Chop Studios in Penyan. Catch them online, turn5.podbean.com. You also catch it on iTunes and YouTube. Search Turn 5 Racing Podcast.